Hello, and welcome back to Jess Plays Paranormasight. We are going to play some more of the Shima Harue thing, because right now we can't go to the next part of the Tsutsumi part until we advance in the other stories. So here we go. Just last time, Richter Kai told us not to go outside, and then we immediately go outside. Despite having obtained the Curse of the Haunting Clappers, Shima Harue is determined to use the Rite of Resurrection by stealing their remaining curse stones. She instructs her and private investigator Richter to find the other curse bearers. Here we go! Well, okay, I guess we waited an hour. That's a reasonable amount of time. It's been almost an hour since Richter left. He promised me he'd call if anything happened, but he hasn't. So all I can do is wait and wait. I know it's dangerous to go out, but I can't just sit here and let this opportunity pass me by. I have to look for her, for Shiraichi Michio. But first, I need to find more soul dregs. The flowers put me at ease just a little. The old hanging scroll. I've seen it too often to feel anything from it now. Should I put a record on? No, it's too late for that. I'm not in the mood for music anyway. Come to think of it, I never offered him any tea. Not that I ever learned how to make it. I'm waiting for Richard to contact me, but he hasn't. Yeah, cell phones weren't a thing in the 80s. There's nothing on at this hour. I see no point in turning it on. What's this, a newspaper? Must have fallen off the chair. It's a newspaper. I only leave them in here for the guests. I hardly read them myself. I don't think I've taken the time to go over one in years, in fact. Well, it's not like I have anything better to do. Looks like the city's biggest problem right now is pollution. I remember how the air and water used to be even more polluted. The river was covered in scum from all the sewage and industrial waste, and it stank so badly it made my eyes water. Eventually, people started getting sick, and it couldn't be ignored anymore. Fortunately, it's gotten better since then. Although the air around the industrial district is still filthy with gas and smog. All sorts of articles about the current state of the economy. Now that the post-war boom has passed its peak, we're moving on to the era of large corporations. It's about 220 to 230 yen to the dollar. Manufacturing is on the rise and exports are healthy. The dollar's down from its height and people are saying it could fall further. There's no denying how much the standard of living has improved in the past few years. It's common to own a car and a television now, and supermarkets are better stocked than ever. Americans don't know this, but when you're living in a country that has just lost a major war, things are not great, and people are starving. Particularly if there was a lot of stuff going on in your, backyard. Now that everyone has more spending money to go around, people are coming up with all kinds of new diversions. Seems like only yesterday people were flocking to the arcades to shoot aliens. Now we have these enormous theme parks and gaming machines that plug straight into our televisions. Everyone's talking about that superhero series, foreign films, and movies based on the latest bestseller. Back in my day, fusion rock and folk music was all the rage. And now it's all about city pop and idols. I find it hard to care about that sort of thing anymore. Well, I mean, your son's dead. Everyone attends high school now, even girls. Universal education policy, they call it. The country's gotten rich enough that every child can go to school. Education is the backbone of modern society. If you want to work for a good company, you have to get into a good university. With more people in the running than ever, the competition to get into those universities has gotten fierce, though. The new generation is rebelling. Schoolyard violence and delinquency are on the rise. But my boy was too sensible to get mixed up in any of that. He was also 11! Like, people are like, oh, my kid is too good, they're too kind. And I was like, your kid hasn't hit puberty yet, come on. I don't want to read anymore, it'll only remind me of him. really watch much television. Feels as if all the information in the world gets passed through that little black box. Father stopped them from reporting on the kidnapping back when it happened. I was glad about that. Less fuss. Is there more? Now the comedy boom is over. All the comedians are flocking to other genres. The occult seems really popular at the moment. Look at all these paranormal specials. I hear the new big thing is some mascot line of delinquent birds. Mockingbirds, I think it's called? Is that what Richter was talking about? Trends seem to have such short shelf lives now. How quickly the times are changing. This woman, who presumably would still be alive now because she's Japanese and therefore will never die, like, I can't imagine, like, oh god, meme shelf life is so fast. I think I'm just too old to keep up anymore. How old are you? Are you like, what are you, like 40? It's young people who are leading the way with their modern worldviews. My generation will only fall further behind. Although with everyone flocking to the city, land prices are skyrocketing. Nowadays, most people can only dream of home ownership, and very little about that has changed. The city center is going to be nothing but apartments before long. Not exactly a businesswoman, so all this feels like another world to me. If there's one thing Honjo never wants for, it's horrific crimes. They found a police officer dead in a local park the other day. A lot of my family are in the police. I hope it wasn't anyone I knew. I don't read the news anymore, not since last year. It brings back bad memories. Okay, that should be it for newspaper, I think. Oh, no. Suicide at local high school. Oh, I remember that. A high school girl jumped off a roof about a week ago. She was bullied, I think, or maybe it was something about exam pressure? What? But... No, this can't be right. Her name... Shiraishi Michio from Komagata High School. It can't be. Alright, we've read it all. We've read it all! Shiraishi Michio, the same girl who witnessed my son's kidnapping, committed suicide last week? But that means... Mr. Jonoichi was terrified of someone who already died? Is that what he meant by a curse? I can't work this out on my own. Maybe Richter will know. Why won't he call? I haven't left it off the hook, have I? I made sure the receiver's on the hook. It'll ring as soon as he calls. Ah! That must be him. Hello, Shigima residence. Richter called me out to meet him, and we came here to Komagata Bridge. Richter, there's something I need to tell you. Funny, I was just thinking the same thing. Standing around is the last thing I want to be doing right now. It's my only chance to bring back my son. I can't afford to fritter it away. We're on Komagata Bridge now, over the Sumida River. There's a highway on one side and a freeway on the other, but they're both deserted this late at night. The Sumida River. Water's filthy and horrid, but at night, when it's still, it looks almost peaceful. Can I ask you something, ma'am? Is the Sumida River what you Honjo folks picture when you think of home? I couldn't say. All I can tell you is that I can hardly stand the sight of it. Right. Should have guessed. This is where they found him, after he went missing. All alone, floating in that horrible water. All I can think is how scared he must have been. How cold he must have been. What did he ever do to deserve something so awful? I've come here every day since then. And prayed to the river to give him back. Give me back my son. Day after day. You know, in olden times people believed rivers marked where our world met the next. So the act of crossing flowing water had a huge amount of spiritual significance. Back when Edo was founded, the people of Chuo saw the Sumida River the same way. They associated the far side of the river with the afterlife, the same place that would later become Honjo. All their fear and revulsion accumulated there and took root. So, funny story about this. When I was on study abroad, I remember one of my teachers, he was from Chuo, and I said something, I mispronounced something, and he's like, "Oh my god, you just mispronounced something in Japanese the exact same way they say it at this area of Sumida," and he's like, "You sound like one of those people from across the river." But then the Ryogoku Bridge sprang up after the Great Fire of Meireki, and just like that, Honjo was part of the city too. And as it turned from farmland into a town, the people surrounded it with man-made rivers that crisscrossed it with canals and waterways. Weren't those to prevent flooding? That's what I was told. They were, but that's not all they were for. Their other purpose was to contain all the corruption that had built up on the far shore, and stop it leaking through to our side of the Great Divide. Officially, they were a physical barrier, but unofficially they were a spiritual one too. So if I have this right, are you saying that Honjo is a place where the real world meets the afterlife? Exactly. That's why the rite of resurrection is here, rather than anywhere else. I'm sure of it. And it's probably why the seven mysteries and their curses have survived to the modern day. And I guess it would make the spot we're standing now right over the water, the border between life and death. If there ever was a place where bringing back the dead might be possible, I reckon it's here. It's funny you mentioned praying to the river. That might have done more than you think. Is that supposed to make me feel better? Just thinking out loud, ma'am. Well, it's a nice thought. Looking for birds. Looking for burbs. I'm on a burb hunt. Get out of the way, Richter. Meh. Whatever. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Okay. Let's look at the river again. Oh, that's right. There's one more memory I have of this river. Do you mind if I tell you? Go ahead. Must have been about 20 years ago now, when I was still a schoolgirl. Back then, the Sumida River was much filthier than it is now. It was full of garbage and industrial discharge. It was scummy and slimy and it stank. You could look out over the water and see dead cats and dogs and pigeons just floating. And one day, among all the filth and garbage, there was a piece of my missing classmate's hand. What? It was almost a miracle when you stop and think about it. What were the chances someone would find a part of her that was still recognizable? And that although everything but the palm had rotted away in the water, that part left would have an identifiable scar. That they could tell it had been a murder from the blade marks on the bone. Wait, are you talking about the Nejima murders? So you have heard of it. I'm impressed. I assume you were but an elementary schooler at the time? I wasn't really aware of it then. I only heard about it after the fact. I had no idea the victim was a classmate of yours. To be honest, it was all a bit of a blur. Wave of chaos just parting around me. Something like that. They said the rest of her body must have sunk to the bottom of the river. They combed the riverbed, but only ever found pieces. Everything else must have rotted and flowed out to sea. Afterwards, I heard all the divers had been looking for her fell ill. Sorry story for everyone involved, huh? It's funny. Everyone figures the river's filthy already, so one more piece of garbage won't hurt. But every little bit makes it worse. It's a vicious cycle, and how could you come? I know I wouldn't want to go rooting around down there myself. That's right. Which is why the riverbed is the last place anybody would go looking. Or so was the killer's thinking, I suppose. The times were changing quickly back then. Things were confusing. Everyone seemed to be in a hurry. Young people were moving to Tokyo in droves. Some even ran away from home to make it in the big city. And they made easy targets for bad people. A lot of them ended up disappearing without a trace. You see, back then, if you chopped up a body into tiny pieces and threw it in the river, it would rot quickly and discreetly, and sink to the bottom, never to be seen again. Are you saying what I think you're saying? They arrested him shortly after. Nejima Fumichika. The man who killed my classmate and cut her into pieces. He was so methodical about it, it couldn't have been his first crime. And people began to wonder how many other girls he'd murdered the same way. Police never found any evidence of other murders in the end. But the river knows the truth. How many corpses has it swallowed up over the years, I wonder? That same thought spread to everyone's mind, and they started to avoid this area. So really, this river has been rank with corruption for decades now. Or at least, that's how it seems to me. Well, was that interesting? Well, I can see why you don't have any good memories of this river. With all that darkness lurking beneath the surface, there's no reason you would. Still, if I may, ma'am, I'm surprised you know so much about the Nejima murders. But how could I not? After all, I was the one who found the hand. Yeah. The police actually wrote me a thank you letter. They said it was only thanks to me that they managed to bring Nejima to justice. That was the only time my father ever said he was proud of me. Huh. I guess it just wasn't the killer's day. Sometimes I wonder if he resents me for it. You have more to say? Oh my god. Oh my god, lady. River-induced trauma. The Sumida River. I have nothing but awful memories of it. Oh my god, okay, there we go. I was like, what the fuck else could you possibly say about this river? He's gazing down at the water. Please, go ahead. Alright then. I've been poking around places connected to the 7 mysteries, looking for curse bearers. And I think I found a few candidates. First of all, a tall man I ran into in Kinshibori Park. I asked him for directions, trying to probe him a little, but he turned the questions right back around on me. And he was out of there the second he figured I wasn't what he was looking for. Got the sense curses were nothing new to him. I'm about 40% sure he's a curse bearer. Not Hubert! Then there's this middle-aged guy I saw on South Warigesu Street. There's no question about this one. He had one of those curse stones in his hand. He had a nervous air about him, too. It was clear he was up to some shady business. Gathering soul dregs, I'd bet. He'd make a good target. Next up is a pair, a young man and woman I saw around Ryogoku Bridge. This time, the man came up to me and asked me flat out if I was a curse bearer. Told him I didn't know what he was talking about, and he backpedaled and left. Looks like they lurk around there often. Looking for kindred spirits would be my guess. Though it didn't seem like they were quite working as a pair. Gathering soul dregs in a group might be a decent idea if you could make it work. With things being how they are, it's gotta be hard to find folks one can trust. They got brass, though. I don't know what their deal is, but I'd like to find out. Last is 2 detectives I've seen sniffing around. The police are involved? Not necessarily. A body turned up in a local park a few days ago, so they might just be looking into that. Still, the park's got ties to one of the 7 mysteries. Might be that it was a curse that did the guy in. And if they're sending in detectives from head office, then something's gotta be up. How do you know where they're from? Let's just say when you're in this business, there are some faces you get to know. Anyway, that's everyone that's caught my eye. You found all of them in so little time? I really did hire the best. It's all in the name, man. Richter Kai, P.I. No, wait. Make that Richter Kai, Investigator Extraordinaire. My, an Investigator Extraordinaire. Is that why you can dress like that without drawing attention to yourself? You bet. An Investigator Extraordinaire can blend in like a chameleon in any outfit. Well, that aside, the middle-aged man and the young couple sound most promising. Am I right? Whichever we pick, it's still too early to make a move. Seems like the curse bearers are less involved with each other than we thought. Plus, there's still others we don't know about. I say we hang fire and see how things play out. Once more bodies start showing up, that'll get the pot nice and hot. And once it's boiling, our chance will come. There's something I need to tell you. What's up? Well, that girl, Shiraishi Michio, the one who was with Shuichi the day of the kidnapping? That's her. Well, she's dead. She's what? The student who committed suicide last week, it was her. I heard something like that had happened, never got the name, though. Talk about bad luck. We finally get a lead, only to find it's turned into a literal dead end. Unless her death was the whole reason Junoichi was so shaken up. He said she was going to curse him. Was he talking about taking revenge from beyond the grave? It seems like we're back to where we started. Not necessarily. That teacher knows something, I'm sure of it. At the very least, I'd put my money on him having to do with something with Miss Shiraishi's death. That's why he's so scared of being cursed by her. I see. And also, something tells me he knows more about your son's kidnapping. In any case, I've got a good idea of what he's hiding. Call it a hunch. A hunch? Well, more of a theory. Care to take a guess? I can't say for certain, but... what if Mr. Junoichi silenced Shiraisho Michio with blackmail? What do you think? Exactly my thinking. Junoichi knew about Miss Shiraishi's connection to the kidnapping, and he used that to blackmail her into doing his bidding. Made her feel so trapped she took her own life to escape. That's my read on it. How despicable. Well, it's just a theory. Right now, I think we need to have another chat with Mr. Junoichi. Is something wrong? Not really, it just struck me. It's been 20 years since the Nejima murders. So it has. Not to spook you or anything, but I thought you might be interested in knowing. Life in prison doesn't always mean life. There's precedent for first-time offenders being allowed out on parole after 20 years. Only if they're found to show remorse and desire to reform themselves, of course. That's right, I'm impressed you know so much. Still, it's hard for someone with a criminal record to reintegrate into society. I hear they've been trying to fix that recently, matching inmates with jobs and accommodation. Oh, really? They keep an eye on them, of course, and make them report for regular checkups. But to avoid discrimination, they keep the inmates' records a secret from everyone but their employers. They might even give particularly notorious criminals new identities so they won't be recognized in the workplace. My. The way you put it. It's like you're saying Nejima Fumichika could be on parole right now. Back in society under a new name, with nobody the wiser. It's possible. As it happens, little birdie told me about a big name making parole a few months back. I don't know if that was Nejima, but our discussion just now did bring it to mind. I see. How unsettling. Now that you mention it, I just remembered something too. What was it? I was passing Komagata High School a little while ago and I saw someone. A janitor, I think. I could have sworn he reminded me of Nejima Fumichika. Oh. He looked a little different after 20 years. Much thinner than I remembered, too. Told myself I was just seeing things. But perhaps it was him after all. So, what next? The big question now is what the rest of the curse bearers are up to. Luckily, the Sumida River is a good distance from any of the 7 mysteries. It's unlikely the other curse bearers will come all the way here. I can finally have a moment to think. I see. All right. Excuse me. Is that a woman's voice? Who could it be? Oh, your ass. Okay. Where did she come from? It's like she appeared out of nowhere. I didn't mean to startle you. I'm terribly sorry if I've gotten the wrong people, but would you happen to be curse bearers? Curse bearers, what's that then? It means someone who's gathering souls for the rite of resurrection. You have heard of the rite of resurrection, haven't you? Everybody's talking about it. Color me intrigued. Care to tell me more, Miss... What was your name again? Oh, silly me. I'm Tono Ayame. She says her name's Ayame. I guess she's around 20. She must be brave, walking around alone this late. Or maybe there's more to it. There's more to the rite of resurrection than meets the eye, you see. So the best way to collect soul dregs is to kill other curse bearers. And that's about the size of it. I hope that wasn't too much to follow. No, I think I got the gist. Funny old world we live in, huh? So are you saying you're one of those curse bearers? No, well, not quite. It's complicated. I'm not, but Yutato is. Yutato? Is that your boyfriend? Oh, heavens no. Just a friend. His full name is Namigaki Yutato. We're, I suppose you could say partners in crime. Funny way of putting it. So where is this Yutato now? Well, about that, he's not actually a curse bearer anymore. He's more like a former curse bearer. Former? How so? I don't really know the details myself, but apparently he lost his curse stone. Typical, right? You make such a big show of being a top student only to flunk where it counts. So now I'm out here looking for curse bearers myself, if you want something done right. He lost it? How did he do that? I wasn't with him at the time, so I don't know exactly how it happened. All I know is he came back saying he didn't have it anymore. Although, well... It's strange that you'd probe into that of all things. I'm just curious sort, that's all. Sorry if it's a touchy subject. Oh, don't mind. I don't particularly care about keeping it a secret. Yutato can be a little irrational sometimes, so I have to keep a level head on my shoulders. So anyway, mind if I ask why you thought I was a curse bearer? Oh, that! I'm terribly sorry, I was so rude. I saw the two of you out late at night, and I suppose I made assumptions. Gotcha. Sorry if we gave the wrong idea. Out of interest, what was your plan if we did turn out to be curse bearers? Great question, and the answer is I was going to ask you very nicely for your curse stones. And you thought we'd have given them to you, just like that? Well, maybe not, but you know what they say, you never know until you ask. You must really love your boyfriend if you're willing to try something that risky. Oh goodness, no, we're just friends. My life doesn't revolve around him, you know. Me when I'm trying to tell people about stuff that I'm doing with Nate. Anyway, you aren't curse bearers, so I'm just bothering you, aren't I? Please ignore me. So what are you trying to do with this rite of resurrection? Well, Yutato has his own plan all laid out. I don't know if I can get behind it, though. It seems... how do I put it? Self-centered? I mean, if you've got a chance to resurrect the dead, it would be a waste to use it on someone that really matters, right? So I was planning to steal his curse stone at the last second and use it for myself. Well, until he lost it anyway. Oh, but don't tell Yutato I was going to do that, okay? I don't think he'd be happy to hear it. Of course, keeping secrets is my business. My, aren't you dashing? Sounds like you really have your heart set on this rite. What were you hoping to use it on? Do you promise you won't laugh? Listen, this other lady wanted to bring back her dog, don't worry. Cross my heart. Well then, let me tell you my master plan. Prepare to be amazed. I'm an art student, you see. Woodblock prints are my specialty, ukiyo-e in particular. Ukiyo-e, huh? You must be a cultured lady. Really? Do you think so? Everybody says it's a strange interest for a girl to have. You know, people often think of ukiyo-e as some inaccessible, high-class art form, but that's actually untrue. Back in the Edo period, it was art for the masses, amusement for the common people. So when you think about it, we feel exactly the same thrills from every brushstroke as they did back then. Isn't that fascinating? Huh, yeah, I guess. And as far as I'm concerned, the undisputed king of ukiyo-e is the one and only Hokusai. Have you heard of him? Have you heard of him? Have you heard of Hokusai? This is like if you went up to someone and you're like, I'm an art student. I would like to bring one person back from the dead, a little person known as Van Gogh. Have you heard of him? Sure I have, he's famous. Didn't he live somewhere around here back in the Edo period? That's right. You're just as knowledgeable as you look. His 36 views of Mount Fuji are so iconic, and they're the only works of his most people know. But Hokusai was so much more than just mountains and waves. Great Wave of Kanagawa. And that's only the teeny tip of the veritable iceberg of work. I gotta admit, I only really know him from those landscapes myself. He's got a lot of cool stuff. Oh, don't worry about that, anyone can learn. When Hokusai died at age of 90, he left behind over 30,000 drawings. That's multiple drawings a day for 80 years. Amazing, right? So he kept on drawing right up to his old age, huh? Impressive. But even in his final years, he was never satisfied with his own work. His dying words were, "Should heaven afford me but 5 more years, I shall finally become a true artist." So even on his deathbed, he still thought he had more to learn. He was already the greatest painter and artist of his era. Who knows what he could have done with more time? Well, that's what I want to find out. Hold on, are you saying... Besides, he always said he wanted to move out of 100 houses, but he only made it to 93. Isn't that just tragic? Oh no, no way this is going where I think it's going. Imagine the masterpieces he could create with modern techniques. I feel all dizzy just thinking about it. What, are you gonna spend thousands of dollars buying him like a freaking Cintiq? You've gotta be kidding me. So if I understand correctly, you want to use the Rite of Resurrection to... That's right, I want to bring Hokusai back to life. Listen, he had his time, he lived to 90. Alright. Well, that's certainly a novel idea. That's what she'd use it on? What a waste. Oh gosh, is that the time? I should be going. I need to get my hands on a curse bearer before daybreak. Sorry for flagging you down out of the blue like that. Best of luck! Well, there goes trouble. If we're going after curse stones, we should keep an eye on her. 2 if we can. Why do you say that? Before she left, she wished us best of luck. She's got at least an inkling that we're curse bearers. My. There's a good chance we'll clash sooner or later. We're after the same thing, after all. You head on back to the mansion, ma'am. I'll think I'll tail her for a while. Alright, okay. I think we can do one more episode before the end of this recording session. Let's look at some of the stuff we got. A Class A river that is part of the Arakawa River system, which runs through much of eastern Tokyo and empties into Tokyo Bay. During the Edo period, Sumida's riverbanks played a key role in the transportation of lumber used for construction. In addition to its logistical importance, it was also a place for common folk to gather and enjoy activities such as seasonal flower viewing or river bathing, and there exist many woodblock prints depicting such activities. The area became plagued with sewage issues when the surrounding environs were industrialized in the post-war period, but the situation has improved since. Many unique bridges span the Sumida River, including the Ryogoku and Azumabashi bridges, which attract a large number of visitors as sightseeing spots. Massive fireworks displays in the summer are also always sure to draw a crowd. I think they're resurrecting that this year. They stopped it during COVID, but I think it's back this year. Actually, the Sumida River fireworks was one of the very first things I ever spoke to Viren about. Right after I met him for the very first time. The river has served as a cornerstone for both the city and its people, having both aided in its development and serving as an inspiring backdrop for countless works of art and literature. One of the bridges spanning the Sumida River, completed in 1927 as part of the reconstruction effort following the Great Kanto earthquake, it is notable for both its distinctive blue arches and cutting-edge, for the time, techniques used in its construction. There are many bridges stretching across the Sumida River, each boasting a unique structural form and design. Okay, Hokusai. A master ukiyo-e artist. He lived from 1760 to 1849. Hokusai was active during the late Edo period, considered to be the golden age of ukiyo-e in Japan. Born in Honjo, Hokusai spent most of his life in the area in what is now known as Sumidaku. Among his famous works are the 36 Views of Mount Fuji and the Hokusai manga, which is the one with the, what is it? It's like rabbits and frogs, I think. Hokusai was a prolific artist from a young age and has left behind a wide variety of works, producing an estimated 30,000 pieces during his lifetime. Though the general popularity of ukiyo-e declined during the Meiji period, Hokusai remained a core figure at the center of the Haponisime movement, providing inspiration for countless artists around the globe. Despite his fame, Hokusai himself was said to be rather indifferent to money or decorum, and lived a life quite appropriately resembled that of a whimsical and otherworldly scenes often depicted in ukiyo-e. Though he went by many names, his later years he took on the title of Gakkyo Rojin Manji, or the Old Mad Painter. Hokusai lived to be 90 years old and never lost his passion for art. Ayame is a young woman working with Yutaro Namigaki. Her love of Katachika Hokusai's ukiyo-e is so great, she wishes to resurrect him with the rite of resurrection. Ayame is a clever but calculating university student who only has time for her own interests. She's making the best of a recent boom in popularity of female university students incited by their appearance across TV commercials and radio programs. Ayame is content to ride this trend as long as it allows her to get her hands on whatever she needs and wants in life. Recently, Ayame has figured out that older men will fall for her if she acts a little bit stupid. She was approached by Namigaki Yutaro in town, and although she was not attracted to him, agreed to date him because his family seemed rich. However, she doesn't think much of him as a human being and is beginning to grow bored of their relationship. Oh, damn. The man who made headlines over 2 decades ago as the perpetrator of the brutal killings known as the Nejima murders. Okay. Wow. Harue has received multiple reports about other suspected curse bearers. Although concerned about Tono Ayame, who is apparently also after curse stones, she entrusts Richter to continue his investigation. Go to bed! None of you people sleep! Back here again. I left Richter, continued looking for curse bearers, and came home alone. Will this really be enough to gather the soul dregs I need? What if nobody uses any more curses? I'll lose my chance to bring him back. I can hear the wind rustling in the trees. Oh yeah. Mockingbird number 5! Oh, interesting. Should I continue waiting? I do like the chromatic aberration that they've got going on with like the text and stuff. It's always stayed the same all these years, even the war didn't touch it. I never liked it growing up, I always wanted to live somewhere more modern. The old Shigima mansion, we rebuilt it here after the Great Kanto earthquake, okay. Okay, there's that. Do I have to keep waiting? No, I guess I gotta go inside. Okay. Once a warrior clan with a mansion in Honjo, now a dynasty of police officials, the Shigima family is one of considerable repute. The family estate was originally located some distance from the city, but the Great Kanto earthquake of 1923 forced them to rebuild in a new location. The Shigima mansion was at one time a bustling place where members of the social elite mingled. 1 year ago, however, the head of the house was struck with a sudden melancholy, and ever since their mansion has stood silent as the grave. The ostracizer. Love it. Okay. Alrighty. That was pretty short. Okay, I guess I've hit a dead end for now on that. Sorry everybody, we're gonna have to do a shorter episode this week, because I don't want to get too far into the Sakazaki story, because I, need to do some other stuff today. But yeah, we'll be back next week. I'm recording this well before when it's going to be posted, because it's going to go up while I'm in the States. I apologize about the shorter version this week, but I've had a lot of things that have been longer in recent memory, so hopefully that will balance it out a bit. Yeah, I'm glad people are enjoying the series. I'm enjoying this game a lot. There's a lot of things, you know, that you can do with the settings and stuff like that. I'm liking that whole thing. We have a lot of like very interesting people who want things and have interesting motives, and not all of them are good people. So yeah, alright, cool. I'm gonna go ahead then and wrap it up for now. Thank you, have a fantastic week, and we'll be back next week, I guess starting the Sakazaki Yako segment, because yeah, I guess we have nowhere else to go but that one. I don't know, maybe I can go hunting around for some birds or something like that, so we'll see. Alright everybody, take it easy, have a great week, and we'll talk to you later. Bye bye.